Hello, my name is Dr. Giovanna Grijalva, the Senior Curriculum Development Director. Welcome to the Professional Learning Community and Collaborative Teacher Team Learning Series. The Learning Series consists of 6 video-based presentations in order to deliver a common message to all participants in Tucson Unified School District. Now let's begin.
Each participant will have the same opportunity to learn the critical elements that ensure professional learning communities and collaborative teacher teams are highly effective based on the research of highly functioning PLCs and collaborative teacher teams. This is Session 1, Collaborative Teacher Teams, an Overview. The 6 sessions are each 45 minutes in length. There will be times during the session that I ask you to interact and share with your colleagues. Your school facilitator will be monitoring and adjusting the time you will have during these interactions. Please know we value your experience and participation, but be aware your interactions may be cut short due to our time constraints. We look forward to working with you and delivering this important information, and we thank you in advance for your participation, commitment, and dedication to this valuable learning series. Participants, please show your facilitator a fist of 5 fingers where you believe you are with your current understanding of what a PLC is and how PLCs best function. A 0 would be no understanding, to a 5 being, I know all about PLCs and my PLC is highly functioning. Facilitators, please pause the presentation to scan the room. As we go through our learning today, please jot down any questions you might have on a post-it and place them on the parking lot. Facilitators, please pause the presentation to show participants the location of the parking lot. In all district learning, we have adopted these 5 norms. Please take a minute to review each norm. Focus on 1 or 2 to help set the tone for your learning. Facilitators, please pause this presentation for 1 minute to allow participants time to review the norms. By the end of today's learning, we will have addressed these 4 guiding questions. Please pause this presentation for 1 minute to review each question. For our opening task, if you were going to tell a new colleague the definition of a professional learning community, what 5 words would be critical to your definition? Write them down on a sticky note and be ready to share with a partner. Facilitators, please pause the presentation for 7 minutes to think, write, and share. Here is the definition we will be using as a district. Take 1 minute and pause the presentation to read it quietly to yourself. Now look at the 5 words you just wrote down. How do they compare? How many of the terms that you wrote down earlier show up in this definition? Remember that it is only one definition of a PLC, and there are other researchers who have similar definitions but may use other terms to define a PLC. Please follow along and reflect silently as we read this quote.
The most promising strategy for sustained, substantive school improvement is building the capacity of school personnel to function as an inclusive community of learners. The path to change in the classroom lies within and through the power of a shared commitment to and a responsibility for high levels of adult performance.
Remember, it is our shared commitment and responsibility to have a highly effective professional learning community. Before we go any further with our learning, we're going to ask you to do some shifting of your previous knowledge and thinking of a professional learning community, or PLC. To help make that shift, we are going to use this graphic. When you hear the term PLC, we want you to think of your school as a whole, as a community of professionals learning and contributing to the school's climate and culture. One community where educators work collaboratively in recurring cycles of collective inquiry and action research to achieve better results for the students they serve. We are one big professional learning community. Please show a fist to 5 of your understanding when you hear the term PLC. In the upcoming slides, we want you to consider your role, commitment, and contribution to a highly effective PLC. Later, we will define and discuss collaborative teacher teams that function within a professional learning community. In just a minute, I'm going to show you 5 characteristics of a highly functioning, highly effective professional learning community. As each characteristic comes up, please self-reflect using a scale of 5, 1 being poor to 5 being great on your personal commitment level. A true professional learning community shifts the culture from one of teaching to one of learning. A true professional learning community promotes collaboration versus isolation. A true professional learning community implies that the campus is results-driven rather than intentions-driven. A true professional learning community ensures that a campus provides support to students who need additional time. And finally, a true professional learning community improves professional practice through the use of collective inquiry. Now turn to your table, friends, and discuss how we can individually and collectively contribute and commit to these characteristics in order to ensure our school is a highly functioning professional learning community. Be prepared to share at least one commitment from each group. Facilitators, please pause the presentation for 8 minutes in order to have colleagues share in small groups and whole groups. It is safe to now say our mindset is that a professional learning community, or PLC, represents our school as a whole. In addition to the characteristics of a true PLC, we want to identify 4 critical pillars. The mission of our professional learning community clarifies our priorities and sharpens our focus as a whole school. The vision includes the steps or directions we take to meet the mission. The values are our commitments we have created collectively as a community to guide our actions. And the goals hold us accountable to the collective commitments, vision, and mission. Remember this graphic a few slides back? It represents our shift in thinking when we hear the word PLC. Collectively, as instructional leaders, we are a professional learning community. We each play an important role, have made personal commitments, and contribute to being a highly effective school-wide PLC. You might be asking yourself, if the entire school is a PLC, what are the small groups of teachers? Within this professional learning community, we have small groups of teachers. These small groups of teachers may be content area teams, such as English Language Arts, or math. Maybe you work in grade level teams, such as 2nd grade or 6th grade. Whatever the group, we are now calling them collaborative teacher teams. Collaborative teacher teams work together to increase student learning within the walls of a PLC. Please give your school facilitator a thumbs up if you have a clear understanding of the difference between a PLC and collaborative teacher teams. A thumbs down if you are still confused, or a thumb to the side if you kind of understand. Facilitators, if necessary, please pause the presentation for 1 minute to clarify the difference. Collaboration versus Coblaboration. Read these two terms again to yourself and then take 1 minute to consider these two questions quietly. Facilitators, pause the presentation for 4 minutes to have a group discussion based on the two questions. So what is collaboration? Collaboration is a systematic process in which we work together interdependently to analyze and impact professional practice in order to improve our individual and collective results. What should our collaborative teacher teams be collaborating about? These 4 critical questions will be the topic of conversation for every collaborative teacher team meeting. These questions encompass curriculum, instruction, and assessment, the 3 areas that support teaching and learning. Think about effective collaborators. What are their characteristics? What are some examples and non-examples, or do's and don'ts? Take 1 minute to write your thoughts on the effective collaborators handout. Then take 3 minutes to share with your colleagues and be ready to share out. Facilitators, please pause the presentation for 4 minutes in order to have small and whole group discussion. Facilitators, please pause the presentation for 1 minute to allow participants to compare their do's and don'ts list to these. When working in a team, it is very important to use good communication skills so everyone has an opportunity to share their own thoughts and ideas without interruption or judgment. Using the 7 ways to collaborate effectively will help your collaborative teacher teams stay focused and allow for equity of voice. As a district, we recommend you take this handout and place it in a page protector and bring it to every collaborative teacher team meeting. It will always be in eyesight and will ensure positive and productive communication within your team. At the beginning of our session, you were given 4 questions to ponder for today's learning. Facilitators, please pause the presentation for 1 minute to allow participants to review these questions silently. Let's reflect on today's learning using a 3-2-1 protocol. 3. List 3 of the most valuable ideas you walked away with from today's learning. 2. What 2 things will you personally commit to implementing in order to support a highly effective PLC and/or collaborative teacher time? 1. On a Post-it note, write 1 question or 1 idea that worked for you from today's learning and post it on the parking lot. We'd like to thank you for your time and engagement, and we look forward to learning together at our next PLC PD session.